Hello, Conspirator Brock here. This is my review for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. I watched Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice 2 days ago on Thursday night, um, and it was painstakingly long, and overall, I am not satisfied with this movie. It it was nice to see more things in the DC universe, but I think that what this movie suffered from is what a lot of critics have already talked about, in plot holes and the drive that characters have, what drives them, all that stuff. Wonder Woman is in the movie for one reason only, and that's to track down a digital photograph of her that Lex Luthor has, from the past. So it's basically a blatant plug for the Wonder Woman movie, which is forced down your throat when you watch this film. It's not something that naturally comes out, which we seem to get from other superhero movies, in that they give little nuggets and build on those. This is more of it shoving it down your throat. It's hard to not be spoilery at this point, so if you haven't seen the movie, I don't recommend the movie. I don't. It's not something that I think is detrimental to you seeing. If you want to see eye candy and on a large screen, perfectly fine. Go see it, form your own opinion, all that stuff. But I don't recommend this movie for people to watch. So now that I've said that, if that's all you wanted to hear, go do whatever you want to do now. Now I'm going to be a little more spoilery, so yeah. Okay, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is trying to tell about three different stories. And those stories that people have kind of fixated on are Death of Superman, right here, okay? The Dark Knight Returns, which is Frank Miller's Batman, and Jeff Johns' Justice League from the New 52. Now, some people have also said it feels like it might be another Justice League. Some have said Grant Morrison's Justice League. Others have just said Justice League in general. I don't really think that the Justice League aspect applies in this. Everything that is involved in the Justice League outside of the Trinity, and the Trinity is, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Outside of those three characters, everybody else is a file, or a video image, or something in a dream fucking sequence. And I'll get to the dream sequences in a minute. So it's not really Dawn. I don't see this movie as Dawn of Justice. There's no. It's Batman v Superman. There's the Dawn of Justice is this little tack on to make it sound more appealing than it actually is, and it's not. It's Batman versus Superman, and it's Lex Luthor getting Batman to fight Superman, or Superman to fight Batman. And the fact of the matter is that Lex's reasoning for getting this to happen is not clearly defined. Some people will say, well, he says the power and not innocent and all this stuff, but there's no backstory to Lex that puts him in a position to want to be there. You have to automatically assume Lex is the bad guy. Lex doesn't want Superman around, and he's going to do whatever he can to take care of Superman. Now, the other difficult part about this is that apparently everybody knows who the fuck Superman is, bad guy wise, and everyone knows who Bruce Wayne is, that he's bad. There was so much there's no secret identity stuff really, when you get to Lex and Superman and Superman and Bruce and all of it is just intertwined. There's nothing really that says our secret identity is very important, which it doesn't need to be in a movie, but it needs to be a little bit more of, especially something where the reason that how Lex gets Superman to come to him is, one, he baits Lois and then pushes her off the roof, and he comes and saves her. And then when Superman flies up to deal with Lex, he says, "Oh, look, I have your mother." And he shows him Polaroids, and he's like, "I don't know where she is. They wouldn't tell me. I told them not to tell me, but if I die, she dies," and all this stuff. You go fight Batman. So yeah, yeah, I don't... This movie is really hard to review. Really hard to review. Because the amount of positive things in it do in no way justify the stuff that doesn't work in this film. The dream sequences that Zack Snyder brought in are a pain in the ass because they break up the flow of the story, and they're in some cases so jarring you're like, what the hell is going on? And then we have, this whole just kind of this feeling in the movie that it doesn't hit the marks as it goes. It doesn't build up to anything. It's kind of just like, it's like listening to a bad, just bad music. Like, it doesn't hit the beats when it needs to hit the beats. And, we see, Zack Snyder's version of Bruce's parents getting killed, which is fine and dandy. I don't mind that. But the fact of the matter is that we don't even see Superman's, his key points in the development of his story. Like, one of the biggest problems I had with Man of Steel is we didn't see Jonathan and Martha Kent find this baby that was, sent from heaven, and now they have this child, and is a special child, but it's their child. There's a lot to Superman, especially in the secondary characters that support him, where you need to work and build on those characters, and Man of Steel didn't do that. And then in this film, they tried to do that, and it didn't really work. The stuff with the Senate and the guy in the wheelchair, it's nice little, let's tie everything together. But overall, it's like, okay, the terrorist blows it up. It's not Superman's fault, but everyone's going to blame Superman because he was there and he's the only one that walked away. And why didn't he hear the bomb or anything out of the ordinary? Or why didn't he scan the room? Or, there's a lot of these questions where, a lot of this stuff's going on, and he's set up in Africa as the one that took down all these people and all this stuff, but he wasn't the one that did it. Batman doesn't shoot guns or knife people or anything, so I don't understand how they can take people that were shot to death and say, oh, it's Superman's fault. Yeah, it's really, really difficult to get behind this movie. I know that a lot of my, Ryan and a couple other people are like, how could you not like this movie? And I think that the biggest problem with this film is that Man of Steel and now BVS have come with this kind of asterisk, or, oh, you got to fill in the blanks. Oh, you have to do this. Oh, you have to be this. And it's not an entertaining movie where it takes you out of your regular everyday life and give you kind of this feeling of, oh, I'm being entertained. Some of the positive things I will say about this movie is I did enjoy Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I didn't feel he got he didn't get to necessarily portray the character how he would have liked. It was more of Zack Snyder saying, hey, I want him like this and I want him like this. But for what he was given, Ben Affleck did a really good job both as Bruce Wayne and Batman. As for Superman, we see more of Clark Kent, but the stuff we see of Clark Kent doesn't really give me that feeling of Clark Kent. And we see the relationship between Lois and Clark and go, well, how did this happen? Going from Man of Steel to this 18 months later, it doesn't feel like that's this is the natural progression. And there's this weird tension between Superman and Lois that's forced to make it like, oh, we have conflict in our relationship because she's like, why are you with me? And it's like, I love you and let me get in the tub with you. Yeah. It felt forced. A lot of a lot of this movie fell forth. But back to the good stuff. I did think that Henry Cavill, I think that's his name, he did a better job in this time with what he was given. I enjoyed his Superman in this more than I did in Man of Steel. As for Gal Gadot, I believe that's her name, as Wonder Woman, she's an amazing woman. She looks amazing. When she shows up on screen as Diana Prince, she's breathtaking. Definitely captured that aspect of it. And when you see her as Wonder Woman and she's fighting, she's savage and awesome, and it's just cool. But I didn't really feel that she needed to be in the movie. Her drive to be in the movie was she needed to track down a digital photo of her that was taken in 1918 or during one of the World Wars, World War II, I think, and she had to get it off of Lex's servers. I don't know. It didn't seem to me like a strong enough reason for her to be there. At one point, she's using her lasso of truth, but I don't even remember seeing her have it before that. And that might just be because everything's going on and it's just fast moving and it's Zack Snyder action stuff, and you're just like, whoa, and it's a lot to take in. I can't remember the kid's name who played Lex, but he did a good job giving us the mad scientist Lex. I think the issue that I had was it was a little too jokery. It was kind of felt a little too forced into act crazy like the Joker. He was more of a mad scientist, Lex, and more like hip and young, which was at times a little... It was okay, but again, they didn't establish Lex's drive in the movie over the fact that his father beat him and he doesn't like gods and he thinks Superman's a god. Like it's a lot of talking about Lex's drive, but it doesn't really. There's nothing really concrete that kind of makes you go, okay, I understand why Lex is doing the things that he's doing in the way he's doing them. He's the one that gets Superman to fight Batman and so on and so forth, and he's playing both sides to get them to fight each other. And to me, it felt kind of weak in how that happened. The best part of the movie, honestly, for me, was Jeffrey Irons' portrayal of Alfred. He did an amazing job as Alfred. I want to see Jeffrey Irons' Alfred again. Like, if they make a solo Batman movie, you have to have Jeffrey Irons back as Alfred. He did an amazing job as, the butler to Bruce and the support network for Batman. And but at the end of the day, this movie is too long. I've talked with a few people and read some things, and it's too long. It's 40 minutes too long for a regular movie, and it's 40 minutes too short for a two-part movie. There's way too much going on. Trying to combine, three different stories, into one film doesn't necessarily make it something that you want to do. We learned this with Spider-Man 3. Too much in a movie can kill a movie, and I think that this movie did a lot of that. It was trying to give us, establish us as Batman, give us a Superman, answer, or basically say sorry for things that screwed up in Man of Steel, but still, at the end of the day, you have things that don't make any sense. Lex cutting off Zod's fingerprints to stick on his fingers to open up the Kryptonian ship to then go in, and the ship basically accepts him as the captain of the ship now. And yeah, that was odd. And then Doomsday's birth, or Zod's body becoming through whatever Kryptonian or process we see as, and that becomes Doomsday, especially when, Lex cuts his hand and bleeds and gives his genetic material. And to me, this is screaming Bizarro, not Doomsday. And I think that them jumping to Doomsday was way too far of a jump. it it almost would have been better if Lex had just dealt with Zod and making a clone and like this bizarro thing. So at the end of the day, it's the movie is what the movie is. Um, the cameos from other Justice League members. Cyborg was pretty cool to watch. Aquaman was awkward because it looked like a guy just underwater. It didn't seem like it was a very natural environment. It basically just looked like somebody took a Dothraki and threw it underwater and filmed it. As for Flash, I could barely understand what Flash was saying in his cameo. He had actually two. He had one where it was a dream sequence that Bruce was having about Superman taking over, and that's where Superman takes off his mask and he's wearing a coat and all this stuff, and it just didn't fly. And the only reason that it was there was to basically show you an Omega symbol on the ground to represent Darkseid. So, spoiler alert, Darkseid is the bad, most likely, for the Justice League movie. Because there's two references. There's the symbol on the ground, three. There's the symbol on the ground, parademons, and Lex kind of going crazy, which could either be Darkseid or it could be Brainiac. But who knows? Overall, for me, I wouldn't recommend this movie for you to go watch. It's hard to watch a film that struggles this much. I found myself bored at a lot of the time during this movie. It has a Return of the King ending where it just won't end. Like, things just keep happening. Spoiler, Superman's not dead, even though he apparently died in this movie. So this review's gone on for 17 minutes. I basically have said not so much anything, and I think that pretty much sums up Batman v Superman. It's a lot of pretty stuff that was not put together very well, if at all. And I'm curious to see if there's a director's cut that can save this movie, or if there was stuff that was cut out that we didn't get to see. Like I said, if it's shorter and stuff is cut out, it can make sense. If it's longer and stuff is added and more depth and all this stuff, great. But again, I think that Zack Snyder's the biggest problem I have is that Zack Snyder is pushing this gods thing. It's God, Christianity, all this stuff, and superheroes are what they are. They are something to look up to. They're something to fear. They're something to, aspire to. They're what give us hope that the world isn't such a shitty place. But at the end of the day, these are just characters. And pumping them up to whatever level you want to pump them up to is your prerogative. But I think for a lot of people, this movie will leave a bad taste in your mouth, just because you'll watch it and enjoy part of it, but there'll so much that's just not very good that you'll just be like, it'll just make you sick. I felt ill after this movie a little bit. So yeah, that was my review for Batman v Superman. Don't watch it. Not worth it. If I had to compare it to Man of Steel, I would probably watch this one over Man of Steel again, just because it has Batman in it, and I'd like to watch Alfred again. But for the most part, I think that if you skip this movie in the theaters and watch it on Netflix or buy the Blu-ray or on Black Friday, I think that's a better way to go. I hate saying that, but that's kind of the truth. If anything, I hope DC learns and Warner Brothers learns from yet another mistake, Zack Snyder mistake, and we can get rid of Zack Snyder and move on. But the sad part is if he's attached to Justice League, oh man, it's going to be rough. Well, I'm looking forward to Suicide Squad. Hopefully you are too. That's it. Follow me on Twitter, @BrockSager. Leave comments down in the window below. Have a fun conversation about this movie. And I'll see you next time.